Hi, welcome to my first of many videos on becoming a software developer. Um, well, maybe being a software developer is too ambitious a word, but I don't know. Anyway, this is part of the 100 days of coding kind of journey which I'm sort of embarking on. Um, I'm a very early stage. I don't have any much programming experience, though I did do a computer science diploma probably 25 years ago, and I don't remember anything coming out of that. So you could sort of look at it as I am at the beginning of this entire journey. I have decided after much deliberation that what I want to really focus on is to start off by building off some mobile apps, and my choice of platform to do that is iOS. I think largely so because of the simplicity and support which is available on the internet to begin this journey. And I think to some extent, when I was looking around to figure out what was that starting point, it just made sense that I look at an ecosystem where things are a lot simplified. And so I figured that I would look at Swift as the starting point for this journey for me to be a self-taught software developer. Um, Look, I'm like close to 45 years old, and I did have some reservations on whether I was too old to pick up a new skill. But I think that age has nothing to do with it. If at all, it brings a bit more practicality and realism to what um, I want to achieve. So looking back at where I want to take this journey for me to be a self-taught software developer, I figured that I should be more focused on the use cases which I want to develop and what is that ideal platform for me to develop my skills, my programming skills, to be able to build out those use cases. So Swift made a lot of sense, largely so because I think the mobile platform is something which is easy to comprehend. It's easy to navigate through, and I don't have to think of learning many different languages. Swift, just learning Swift, uh, it makes it a lot more achievable. Um, so yeah, people to tell me that I should probably look at Python and maybe even something along the lines of C Spark, I think it was. But yeah, I don't think it really matters too much whether you go down the Android path or whether you go down the iOS path. Just pick one and start that journey. My advice to people wanting to, learn about software development is to, harness the power of Google. There's a lot of documentation out there. There's a lot of different blogs and vlogs of people sharing their experiences on becoming a self-taught software developer. There are many approaches to embarking on this journey. You can go online to web portals which have a lot of free tutorials for you to get started on. You can sign up for some really cheap classes from Udemy.com or even some of the other one like Khan Academy, or even look at Microsoft's own website where they have a lot of tutorials which they've published on YouTube. So, the choices are abundant. What you really need to focus on is more about um, the end goal, right? So you need to have a firm end goal. You need to have a vision of, what does the learning and accumulation of knowledge to build out this programming skill set, going to lead to. and what do you want to gain out of it. It may very well be that you perhaps don't want to build a particular piece of software, but just the entire process of learning itself is, quite satisfying for you to keep pursuing this goal of building out your programming skills. I will say that I've been dabbling with this for quite a while, in the sense that I first started a couple of courses online on Udemy. I sort of just followed the tutorials blindly, and I made a dozen or so apps just sort of following those tutorials. But I didn't really understand a lot of it. Like at the point at which I was coding, it sort of made sense. But when I went back to the drawing board and I said, hey, let me try and build something myself, I just struggled. I didn't know where to start. I couldn't recall some of the things I'd learned. So I went through this constant cycle of going through tutorials and copying, and then typing it all up, and then compiling, and then hoping that I sort of remembered uh, the relevant bits. But I realized after some time that don't try and do too much. You got to give yourself the time to digest a lot of this, and that really means that you have to sort of crawl before you can run, and you got to appreciate that you do need time to learn some of this stuff. It seems very simple, some of the basic tutorials or some of the basic concepts like loops, dictionaries, or using arrays, or using all of the basic, I guess, structures and classes. It seems very simple, but then being able to do it time and time again, applying that knowledge which you have learned, and just going through different practice sessions so that it becomes second nature to you, is something which you really need to get comfortable with. I mean, you do want to go ahead and build that app, but I think you need to sometimes take things back a bit and just focus on the fundamentals. This sort of reminds me of when I was learning golf. You had the 7 iron and you tried really hard to hit it like 120 yards or whatever it was, and you just didn't have the consistency. You didn't have the muscle memory to pick up any of the clubs and be able to have consistent stroke play. And you need to build that muscle memory by going to the driving range and then hitting a substantial number of balls on a regular basis, probably even in the tens of thousands if you wanted to be really, really good and awesome at your game. And I think coding is very similar, depending on where you start, what languages you pick up. And I treat the language as a tool, and then learning all the fundamental aspects of the language is never going to be something where you can say you've learned it all, because the libraries and the amount of things you need to go through and learn, and the mental agility which you need to be able to adapt what you learn can take time. You you will realize that no matter how much time you sometimes spend, you you never really feel quite satisfied with how much you've learned. And perhaps once you get the comfort level in developing or practicing all of these fundamental concepts, once you get the comfort level, there's nothing better than drawing out a storyboard on a very simple app which you want to build, and then just push yourself through that journey to build out that app. It'll take time. I realize that coding is the most humbling experience. You can be the most accomplished person in the world, but when you're learning coding, really come down to the basics, and you will fall, you will climb, get up, get back up, and you'll fall again, and you'll be stuck. You'll be probably stuck for weeks before you figure out what's wrong with your code. And the beautiful thing about it is there's an awesome community there where you can always reach out to. You can join sessions on chat groups on Slack or Discord, what have you, and the people with all kinds of backgrounds, ages, nationalities, and I guess language skills are all there to sort of help you. And like, the other day I was sort of stuck on this what if statement, and it was like a 10-year-old kid in a chat group, um, which I'm part of, where you have developers or aspiring developers from all age groups. This 10-year-old kid said, "Hey man, this is what you got to do." And I said, How did you learn this?" He goes, "Oh well, I did a couple of courses on Python, and that helped me. So maybe I should have learned Python. I don't know. Uh, I will at some stage. So I just wanted to share this with you. I mean, like, I'm at the start of my journey. I don't have any code to sort of share with you today, but I can start showing you what I'm sort of going through. I am old school, so typing stuff out is one thing, but in the end, I am a paper guy, so I still print out some of my code on some of my practice sessions, like in here, and I take notes. And as I write different exercises, I print it all out, and I sort of go through this again and again, and then take notes on the side to sort of understand why did something work, what I should be wary of. And I often the way you expect things is not necessarily the way the computer wants you to tell it what to do. So have patience. I hope I will be able to share more of my learnings as I go through this journey. And thank you for taking the time. If you have any tips, or if you have any comments on how one can build out the skill set for it to be more comprehensive, and for people to learn faster, do share your tips. In the meantime, thank you for stopping by with Coding with Suj. Bye.